You all know Mr. Krishnamurti, and I don't need any introduction for him. It is with great pleasure I present to you Mr. Krishnamurti.
For the last 5,000 years, and perhaps more historically, there have been wars, practically every year. And we are still at war. I believe there are 40 wars going on at the present time. And they've talked about peace in it. When you go die, you go to heaven and you'll have peace there. One wonders if one is at all serious why man kills another human being in the name of God, in the name of peace, in the name of some ideology, or for his country, whatever that may mean, or for the king and the queen and all the rest of that business. Probably we all know this, that man has never lived on this earth, which is being slowly destroyed, and religions, whether it be Christianity, Hinduism, or Buddhism, they're also at war with each other. Nations are at war, groups are at war, ideologies, whether it is the Russian or the American or any other category of ideologies, they're all at war with each other, conflict. And after living on this earth for so many centuries, why is it man cannot live peacefully on this marvelous earth? This question has been asked over and over again. Time is a strange factor in life. Time is very important for all of us. And the future is what is present. Future is now. Because the present, which is also the past, modifying itself now, becomes the future. This has been the cycle of time, the path of time. And now, at the present time, if there is no radical change, fundamental mutation, the future is what is now. And that's been historically proved, and we can prove it in our daily lives, or with man and woman are in perpetual conflict. There will be no peace on this earth. One may talk about it endlessly. These are all facts, actualities, not the speaker's wish. One wonders if one realizes that the present is not only the past, but also contains the future. Modifying the past, modifying itself constantly through the present and projecting the future. If we don't stop quarrels, struggles, antagonism, hate, now it'll be like that tomorrow. And you can stretch out that tomorrows for 1,000 years. It'll be still tomorrow. So it behoves us to ask ourselves whether we as human beings, single or a community, or in a family, whether we can live peacefully with each other. Organizations have not solved this problem. You can reorganize, but war still goes on. So organizations, whether it's world organization or a particular kind of organization to bring about peace, such organizations will never succeed, because human beings, individually, collectively, nationally, are in conflict. Strong nations like America or Russia are at war with each other, economically, ideologically, and actually. Not bloodshed yet. So, peace cannot possibly exist on this earth if there are nationalities, which, as we've said, is a glorified tribalism. Nationalities give certain security. Man needs security. And he invests in nationalism or in a particular ideology or belief. Beliefs, ideologies, and so on have separated man. I wonder if one is aware of all this. And we're asking deeply, if you are serious at all, whether you and I and those of us who are involved in organizations can live at peace with each other. Peace requires a great deal of intelligence, not just demonstrations against a particular form of war, against the nuclear or whatever, the atom bomb and so on. Those are the products of minds, brains that have entrenched in nationalism, in some particular form of belief, ideology. So they are supplying armaments, the powerful ones, whether it be Russia, America, or England, or France, armaments to the rest of the world. And they also talk about peace, supplying at the same time armaments. It's a vast, cynical world. And cynicism can never tolerate affection, care, love. I think we have lost that quality of compassion. Not analyze what is compassion. It can be analyzed very easily. You cannot analyze love. Love is not within the limits of the brain, because the brain is the instrument of sensation, is the center of all reaction and action. And we try to find peace, love within this limited area. Which means thought is not love. Because thought is based on experience, which is limited, and on knowledge, which is always limited, whether now or in the future. So knowledge is always limited. And having knowledge, which is contained in the brain as memory, from that memory springs thought. This can be observed very simply and easily. If one examines oneself, if one looks at one's own activity of thought, experience, knowledge, you don't have to read any book or become a specialist to understand your own way of thinking, living. So thought is always limited, whether it's now or in the future. And we try to solve all our problems, both technological, religious, and personal, through the activity of thought. Surely thought is not love. Love is not sensation or pleasure. It is not the result of desire. It is something entirely different. To come upon that love, which is compassion, which is its own intelligence, one has to understand oneself, what we are, not through analysis, but understanding our own sorrows, our own pleasures, our own beliefs. You want to know, wherever you go, all over the world, mankind, human beings, suffer for various reasons. It might be petty or some very, very deep incident that has caused pain, sorrow. And every human being on this earth goes through that, on a minor scale or a tremendous incident as death. And sorrow is shared by all mankind. It's not your sorrow or mine, it's mankind's sorrow. Mankind's anxiety, pain, loneliness, despair, aggressiveness. So you and we are the rest of humanity. We are not separate human beings psychologically. It may be a woman, or it may be a man, it may be tall, dark, short, and so on. But inwardly, psychologically, which is far more important, we are the rest of mankind. You are the rest of mankind. And so if you kill another, if you are in conflict with another, you are destroying yourself. You can observe this very, very carefully if you look at yourself without any distortion. So there can only be peace when mankind, when you and I have no conflict in ourselves. And you might say, if one achieves or comes to an end to all conflict within oneself, how will it affect the rest of mankind? This is a very, very old question. This has been put thousands of years before Christ, if he ever existed. And we have to ask within ourselves whether sorrow, pain, anxiety, and all that can ever end. If one applies, looks, observes with great attention, as you look with considerable attention when you are combing your hair or shaving, with that quality of attention heightened, you can observe yourself, all the nuances, subtleties. And the mirror is your relationship between human beings. In that mirror, you can see yourself exactly as you are. But most of us are frightened to see what we are. And so we gradually develop resistance, guilt, and all the rest of that business. So we never ask for total freedom, not to do what you like, but to be free from choice. Where there are multiple choice, there are multiple confusions. So, can we live on this earth, parchment terrace, with a great understanding of mankind, which is to understand yourself so profoundly, not according to some psychologists, analysts. They too have to be analyzed. So we can, without turning to the professionals, as simple laymen, we can observe our own idiosyncrasies, tendencies. Our brain, the speaker is not a specialist about brain matter. Our brain has been conditioned to war, to hate, to conflict. It's conditioned through this long period of evolution. But that brain, with its cells, which contain all the memories, whether that brain can free itself from its own conditioning. And when you actually move away from that direction, there is a mutation in the very brain cells themselves, because you have broken the pattern. And that pattern must be broken now, not 40 years or 100 years later. You must question everything till you discover or come upon that truth which is not yours or any other's. It is truth. And this inquiry is not intellectual. Intellectual is only a part of the whole human structure. One must look at the world and oneself as a holistic being. And truth is not something to be experienced. If one may point out, who is the experiencer apart from experience? Is not the experiencer part of the experience? Otherwise you wouldn't know what experiences had. So the experiencer is the experience. The thinker is the thought. The observer, in its psychological sense, is the observed. There is no difference. And where there is difference, separation, there comes conflict. With the end of conflict, there is freedom. And only then truth can come into being. All this is not intellectual, for God's sake. This is something that one lives, finds out. But to inquire gently, hesitantly, questioning, asking yourself, then out of that comes clarity. And there must be clarity to understand that which is eternal. And time is not going to solve that problem, which is evolution. And is it possible, we're asking, for each human being who is the rest of the world, whether that psychological movement can stop and see something afresh. First, the psychological revolution, not evolution, but revolution, change completely. That is the real action of humankind, not trying to fiddle around in the periphery. This is really a very important thing. We have put aside all the side issues. Please do realize something tremendous, that you are the rest of mankind psychologically. You are mankind. Whether you live in India, Russia, China, or in America, or Europe, you are the rest of mankind, because you suffer, and everyone on this earth suffers in his own way. We share that suffering. It's not my suffering. So when you ask a question, what difference will it make if I or you change? If I may most humbly point out, it's a wrong question. You are avoiding the central issue. And we never seem to face the central issue, the central challenge that demands that we live totally differently. I wonder if you have realized. So please, we are suggesting that the central issue to stop wars, you must stop your own antagonisms, your own conflicts, your own misery and suffering. Do we realize or see actually, not theoretically or ideologically, but actually see that we are programmed? Or is it just a casual statement? If you are actually programmed and you realize the consequences of being programmed, one of the consequences being hating or war or separating yourself from others. If one realizes that you are being programmed, pressurized, preached at, and if one really sees that, you abandon it. You don't want a formula for it. The moment you have a formula, then you are caught. Then you become programmed again, because you have your program and the other fellow brings you another program. So what is important is to realize the actuality of being programmed, not intellectually, with all your blood and energy.
Mr. Krishnamurti was here last year on the 17th of April, just around the time we had the Parliamentary Day. And this year, we were very fortunate to have on the 22nd anniversary of the Parliamentaries, and you already heard about it. On behalf of the Parliamentary Society at the United Nations, we have the honor of presenting you, Mr. Krishnamurti, the world teacher, with the United Nations 1984 Peace Medal.